one of the projects we got coming up, I'll probably post in the next week or two, is going to be enclosing this hallway and putting a door in. Basically, the way this house was built was it's on 3 levels. There's a downstairs apartment, which is this area here. There's a bedroom, a big kitchen. It's all a mess because we're doing construction. A big kitchen. We just remodeled this bathroom. If you follow my other channel, at Your Essential Italy, you'll see this whole remodel was done. And I did not do this. This was done by contractors. And then the access to my workshop, and there's a utility room. And one of the problems this house has is that I think it's like a lot of buildings that, just go up and up and up. And you can see it goes up and up and up. Probably not the best camera shot, but it goes up and up. So that's the apartment where we live. On the second floor, it's the first floor in Italian, but the second floor, modern English. So we've ordered a door, and what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to build this out on this side here. This is going to have to come out of the way because we're going to swing the door. The door will swing this way. So I've got to build this out. I'm just going to use some, just wood planks. And then I've got to fill it in over on this side as well with some wood planks. And then we'll seal it up. The main reason we want to do that is because this bedroom here and the kitchen are where the heat sources are. So you see that radiator right there in the corner, and then there's another one over in that space there. And then they put one, let me turn on this light. This room's a mess, it's been storage. They put one here behind the door. So that's all the heat sources down here. There's no radiant heating in here. There's an electric towel heater in the bathroom that we had put in. So we figured that if we can close this off from this very cold stairwell area, that it will, it'll stay nicer downstairs, and in turn may actually reduce our heating costs for upstairs. Randy here. I'm doing 2 episodes today. So one of them is Randy Repairs It, one of them is Your Essential Italy, because my followers of Your Essential Italy have been wanting to know about this door. Randy Repairs It. I'm going to show how to put a door in an old Italian farmhouse, I hope. Okay, full disclosure, I have never put a door in like this before. I did put this door in here, but the rough opening was already set for me. So basically I just had to bolt in the frame, level the door, shim it out. This one here, as you can see, there's a rough opening. 111 centimeters across, and this is an 80 centimeter door roughly. So the door's 84 centimeters. The frame is 4 centimeters thick on each side, so 92 centimeters. And I have to fill in the other 19.5 centimeters that is a gap. So that's what I'm going to do and get that started. I'm not sure how much of this is going to make the cut, but we'll see how it goes. So let's get started. First thing I got to do is take this out of the way because this door is going to open up here. So I got to grab a drill. Okay. All right, a little bonus footage. When I put the little coat hanger up, that's when I discovered that this wall crumbles really badly. So I'm going to fill in those holes. I have to put some wood planks in to this wall to be able to bolt in the door frame because I've got all that space I've got to fill. So well, if it does that, that's fine too. Okay, that's fine. I can put some putty over that. All right, we'll let that dry and I'll put another coat over it. Oh, if you've moved to Italy, it's called stucco and pasta. And ampere and tourney means for the interior, for the inside. So this is the stuff that, you know, that's used to fill spackle, is spackle, you know, the holes. So one of the things I've got to do is get this in. Yeah, it's a little shorter, but that's okay because I've got the top frame that's going to go in, and it'll get filled up. I don't know. Let me see if so I got to show you what I got to do some modification to this, and this is where it's going to get tricky for me because I don't have a planer, and I'm going to have to do this by hand. So there's a piece of mold here, tile. It's a tile trim rather, not molding, and it's probably about 2 millimeters thick, maybe 3 millimeters thick, but it stands off the wall. So I need this to be plumb, which means I've got to notch this board out to fit that, or I've got to take the tile out. Well, if I take the tile out, it's going to look nasty because this stuff I don't have the tools to cut it. I'm not a tile guy. So I'm gonna trim back the board. So in order to do that, I'm just gonna set it where I think it needs to be and mark the top of the board there on that side and there on this side. And then I'm gonna try to go out here on this side to mark the depth of the board, the depth of the molding, I mean, and the depth on this side. Okay. So then what I'm gonna do, and I'll do this with a straight edge, there'll be a line here and here, and that's the part I've got to take out. Okay, so basically what I've done is I've drawn the lines and I've cut, and I'm gonna, there it goes. So now I've got a little notch that'll fit over the molding and still be, and I can still make it plumb. I'm drilling some giant holes. This one's hanging on something, which has me nervous. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Okay. You get a hammer and tap those in. All right, awesome. Okay, much faster. All right, am I on camera down here? I'm not. Let me get you guys on that. Maybe you'll be able to see this a little better. So basically what they do, they put little hex on here, so it's 8mm. They also put a Torx on the end. I didn't see that until I started putting that in. Oh, look at that. All right, so this is one of the things that can happen to you when you're working on these old houses, and that went in at an angle as well. So fun stuff. Still pretty solid, but I am gonna have to fix that. Let me see if it fits. Yeah, this one went to the bottom. Went down and had an angle. Ah, okay. We'll slot this out. Now I'll make it fit. Okay. That's easier than trying to manipulate the wall. Okay, too far. Okay, right there. All right. Okay. Now let's see. Hopefully we're still plumb. Perfecto. Yeah. There you go. Perfect. All right. All right, so I roughed out the back of it. It's a bit of a bodge job, but I didn't have a small hole saw, which would have made things a lot easier. So I actually used an end mill. And I'm gonna nail these in. Now these nails are long enough to go into the wall, so I'm really hoping it doesn't break the plaster up. It didn't, okay, good. Let me make sure I'm square, or plumb, I mean. Side here. Check my plumb again because it was moving all over the place. You're good. All right. All right. All right. So I've got it blocked out the way I need it blocked out, and then what I've done is I've drilled. This one's in just so it holds it in place, and I've drilled some holes. I go above the hinges on the top two and below the hinge on the bottom one. I'm gonna drill a little countersink in so that the screw head sits flush. So we're gonna put this one in. I gotta make sure that I'm plumb. Okay. And there's that one. One more big screw in here. They're flush, and that's the hinge side. All right. So that's how it's eventually going to work. It's a couple hours later, and I've got the other half roughed in. I still don't have the top mounted or filled in, but we have a door that closes, a little rattle to it, that I'll tighten that up somehow. Not really sure yet how, but yeah, it seems that this was out of true, so I really had to do some significant shimming. So if you look at the bottom here, let me pop this off. If you look at the bottom I have a 1 millimeter shim in, but in order to make it straight, I got 3 millimeters of shim, a millimeter here of a shim, because it was too much gap up top when I had just a millimeter for the whole thing. So you can see I really had to shim it over though, 3 millimeters. So I'm just gonna, fill this with foam, and then this will be stuccoed over. Now what I have to do, I gotta fill in this up here with some wood. Unfortunately, the planks that we had available to us locally were exactly 2 meters, and he had a couple that were a little over 2 meters, and this is 2 meters 5 centimeters, 205. It's 205, so 205 centimeters. But he had a few that were like a 208 centimeters, but he didn't have enough to do all of it. So I knew I was gonna have to fill in one side. So I've got the door framed in. I know Marisa asked, and I figured some of you guys are gonna catch on too. She says, why didn't you just build a box frame in here? And there really was 2 reasons. First, I didn't think about doing it that way, but because of the first reason, I wanted this to be a solid piece of wood is what I was really hoping for. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any wood that big here near me. I would have had to drive like an hour and a half to go get it. So this was the way I decided to do it. Knowing there was going to be some gaps and light and whatnot coming through, but this is all going to be stuccoed, so it'll be insulated anyway. So I got the 20 kilograms of stucco. That's for another project. The stucco's there. I got a door sweep, but I'm going to stucco across these 2 sides. There's trim that goes up here that'll cover all that up. And then there's some trim that goes over here, but I'm still going to stucco all of that just to make sure it's nice and insulated. There's a huge difference in the temperature between out here in the hallway now and the stairwell and in here. And it is almost as warm in here as it is in my workshop. The workshop's still a little bit warmer, but we're getting there. So we bought this house. We bought it in March of 2025. We moved in. We bought it before then, but we moved in March. If you guys saw that video of the house when we went through it all, the windows were thin, they were rattling, they were leaking really bad. The lady that owned the house before us, she basically lived out of the upstairs kitchen. She had a pellet stove in there, and she kept the door closed and just stayed in that room with the pellet stove running. And the house was very, very cold, very, very cold. Marisa and I, neither one of us liked the cold. So we immediately set to have the windows and doors changed, and they got that finished in June of last year. So we weren't really sure how much it was going to help in terms of our winter bill of heating and whatnot. So we know in March when we were here last year, it was the house was cold, and it stayed pretty cold. We couldn't keep it warm. So this winter, when we started turning the heat on, I think probably in late November, early December, we did notice that the house stayed pretty warm upstairs. It was right around 20 degrees Celsius, which is, like 70-ish degrees Fahrenheit. So it was comfortable. It was a little cool for us, but it was fine. So we filled our propane tank in at the first week of December. We filled it in March when we bought the house, and it lasted us until December. And then we filled it in December. So, and it's about 1,400 US dollars to fill it up. So we filled it in December, kind of figuring it was going to last us all winter, and it didn't. It's been really cold. It's been colder. Even the locals said it's colder this winter than it has been in a long, long time. So, so we had to fill it up again just last week, another 1,400 US dollars. Not sustainable to fill this thing up every 6 weeks, obviously over winter. We don't have that kind of money. So it really hurt financially to have to do that. But so that's why we decided to put this door in, seal off this stairwell, which is unheated completely. And it's just a big column, goes up 3 stories, and it's a big open space that there's just no way to heat it all and in a financially fiscal way, in a sound way. So, and I'm gonna get the other stuff insulated, like I said before. But we're hoping that by heating the apartment down here, and that heat will rise and keep the apartment upstairs warmer as well, and use less energy. We had a technician out to check for gas leak to see if we had a leak or something, and we've had technicians out to check our water heater to make sure it's running as efficient as possible. It's not that old, so and everything checked out. There's no leaks, and everything's running efficiently. So this is our last ditch effort to try to not have $3,000 or $4,000 worth of propane expenses over the winter here. So anyway, that's where we're at. So I'm gonna work on this and get it stuccoed, and I'm not really gonna film that because I don't know who wants to watch stuccoing. It's not that exciting. I'll explain a little bit. You gotta rough this up. I gotta rough this board up a little bit. And I got the stucco. I'm just gonna put it on, smooth it out, let it dry. I'll probably put a second coat on after I sand it down, and it'll take me all day. And then I gotta put the trim on and trim it up. And once that's done, I'll show you the final product. All right, I put a second coat of stucco on last night, and it's still not quite dry. So it's gonna dry. I went to sand it and it wasn't sanding.